Ethan moved slowly across the cracked surface of the planet, his boots crunching against the dry, gray soil. The air was thin here, barely enough to breathe without his mask, and the sky above him stretched endlessly in shades of dull orange and deep purple. It was a place forgotten by most, scorched by time and left to rot under an unforgiving sun. But Ethan didn't mind. He had spent years wandering through places like this, searching for anything that might be worth salvaging. Old tech, broken parts, scraps of metal, he'd take whatever he could find. Survival out here depended on resourcefulness, and Ethan prided himself on being good at it. Today, however, felt different. As he picked his way through the wreckage of what looked like an ancient crash site, something caught his eye. Half buried in dirt and debris lay the remains of what appeared to be a synthetic. At first glance, it was hard to tell if it was even intact. Its frame was scratched and scorched, covered in layers of grime and rust. One arm was twisted awkwardly, and part of its torso seemed crushed. Whoever or whatever this thing once was, it had clearly been through hell. Other scavengers milling around noticed. Ethan crouching beside the figure, but quickly lost interest. Waste of time, one muttered as he passed by, shaking his head. Another laughed bitterly. That thing's too dirty to touch. Leave it alone. Ethan ignored them. There was something about the way the synthetic lay there, motionless, yet somehow not entirely lifeless, that intrigued him. He reached out cautiously, brushing away some of the dirt from its faceplate. Beneath the filth, he could just make out faint traces of delicate craftsmanship. This wasn't some mass-produced labor unit. It was something more refined, designed with care. And then he saw it, a tiny flicker of light in its optical sensors, dim but unmistakable. For a moment, Ethan hesitated. Synthetics were unpredictable, especially ones found in such bad shape. Some models came programmed with self-defense protocols that could turn dangerous when damaged. But something inside him refused to walk away. Maybe it was the loneliness gnawing at him after years of solitude. Or maybe it was just instinct telling him this was worth the risk. Whatever the reason, Ethan made up his mind. With effort, he hoisted the synthetic over his shoulder and began trudging back toward his camp. The journey wasn't easy. The weight of the synthetic slowed him down, and the terrain was rough, littered with jagged rocks and loose gravel. By the time he reached his shelter, a ramshackle collection of tarps and scavenged materials, he was sweating profusely despite the chill in the air. Dropping the synthetic onto the ground, he took a step back and surveyed his haul. Up close, it looked even worse than before. Dirt clung stubbornly to every surface, and the stench of burnt wiring filled the air. Most people would have written it off as beyond saving. But Ethan wasn't like most people. He started by gathering supplies, solvents, cleaning cloths, basic repair tools. Then he set to work, methodically scrubbing away layers of grime. Hours passed as he focused on the task, his hands moving steadily despite the ache in his muscles. Slowly, the synthetic's true form began to emerge. Its outer shell gleamed dully in the dim light of his lantern, revealing intricate patterns etched into the metal. Even battered and worn, it was clear this synthetic had been built for beauty as much as function. As Ethan cleaned, he couldn't help but wonder about its origins. What kind of person would design something so elegant? And why would they abandon it like this? Questions swirled in his mind, but there were no answers, only silence. Finally, after what felt like forever, he reached the power core. Taking a deep breath, he activated it, praying silently that it wouldn't short-circuit or explode. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hum, the synthetic stirred to life. Its optical sensors blinked weakly, casting faint beams of light across the room. Ethan leaned closer, his heart pounding. "Hello?" he said softly, unsure if it could understand him. The synthetic's head tilted slightly, its movements jerky and uncertain. When it spoke, its voice was fragmented, almost hesitant. "W? Where? Am I?" it asked, the words coming out in a stutter. Ethan exhaled sharply, relief washing over him. "You're safe," he replied. "My name's Ethan. Do you remember yours?" The synthetic paused, its gaze shifting as if trying to piece together fragments of memory. After a long silence, it shook its head. "No," it said finally, its tone tinged with sadness. "I don't." Ethan nodded, unsurprised. Memory loss was common in damaged synthetics. Still, hearing the admission made his chest tighten. Whoever this thing was, it had clearly been through a lot. "That's okay," he said gently. "We'll figure it out together. For now, let's give you a name. How about Lily?" The synthetic Lily considered. This for a moment before nodding slowly. "Lily," she repeated, testing the sound. A flicker of something resembling gratitude crossed her features. "Thank you." Ethan smiled faintly, though he wasn't sure if she could see it beneath his mask. "Don't mention it," he said. "Now let's get you fixed up." And with that, he returned to his work, determined to bring Lily back to full functionality. Little did he know, this decision would change both their lives forever. Over the next few days, Ethan worked tirelessly to repair Lily. His small camp became a makeshift workshop, filled with tools, spare parts, and the faint hum of electricity as he tested circuits and replaced damaged components. The process was slow and painstaking, but Ethan didn't mind. He had always been patient by nature, and there was something oddly satisfying about seeing progress, no matter how small. Each time Lily's systems responded more clearly or her movements grew smoother, Ethan felt a flicker of pride. Lily, for her part, watched him work with quiet curiosity. At first, she stayed mostly silent, observing his every move with wide optical sensors. But as her confidence grew, so did her willingness to ask questions. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. One evening, as Ethan soldered a loose connection in her arm. Her voice was still hesitant, but it carried a note of genuine wonder. Ethan paused, glancing up at her. "Because you needed help," he said simply, "and because I think you're worth saving." Lily tilted her head slightly, as if processing his words. "Most people would have left me behind," she said after a moment. "They called me too dirty to touch." "Well, they were wrong," Ethan replied firmly. "You're not just some piece of junk. You're smart, capable, and you deserve a second chance." Her optical sensors dimmed briefly, a gesture that almost seemed like gratitude. "Thank you, Ethan," she murmured. Then, after a pause, she added, "Do you think I'll ever remember who I was?" Ethereal shrugged, setting down his tools. "Maybe, maybe not. Either way, it doesn't define you. What matters is who you choose to be now." Lily nodded slowly, though Ethan could tell she wasn't entirely convinced. Memory loss was hard on anyone human or synthetic, and he knew it would take time for her to come to terms with it. Still, he admired her resilience. Despite everything she'd been through, she hadn't given up. That kind of strength wasn't easy to find. As the repairs progressed, Ethan began teaching Lily basic skills to help her adapt to their surroundings. He showed her how to start a fire using scavenged materials, how to purify water from the nearby stream, and how to identify edible plants growing in the rocky soil. Lily soaked up the knowledge eagerly, asking questions and practicing until she got things right. Sometimes, her mechanical precision gave her an edge. She could calculate exact measurements or replicate tasks flawlessly, but other times, her lack of experience led to mistakes. Once, while trying to cook a simple meal, she accidentally burned the food beyond recognition. Instead of laughing, Ethan reassured her, saying, "Don't worry. We all mess up sometimes. That's how we learn." Their bond deepened with each passing day. Ethan found himself looking forward to their conversations, which ranged from practical topics like survival strategies to deeper discussions about purpose and identity. Lily often spoke about fragments of her past, piecing together vague memories of serving aboard a luxury starship. She described herself as a companion model designed to provide comfort and care to humans. Yet the details remained hazy, interrupted by flashes of violence and chaos. One night, As they sat by the fire, she recounted a particularly vivid memory. "I remember screams," she said softly. "People running, lights flashing red. Something went wrong, I don't know what. All I know is that I tried to help, but—" Her voice trailed off, tinged with sadness. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, offering what little comfort he could. "Whatever happened, it wasn't your fault," he said. "You did what you were built to do. You cared for others. And you're still doing that now?" Lily looked at him, her optical sensors glowing softly in the firelight. "You really believe that?" "I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it," Ethan replied with a small smile. "You've already proven yourself stronger than anyone gives you credit for. Don't let anyone, including yourself, convince you otherwise." The comment seemed to resonate with her, and for the first time since waking up, Lily allowed herself to feel a glimmer of hope. Maybe she could rebuild her life, even without knowing all the pieces of her past. And maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone anymore. Despite their growing closeness, life on the planet remained challenging. Supplies were scarce, and the environment was harsh, with sudden storms and freezing nights testing their endurance. But Ethan and Lily faced these hardships together, relying on each other to survive. When food ran low, they hunted small creatures that roamed the area, with Lily learning to use a makeshift spear Ethan had crafted. When a storm rolled in, they huddled close under tarps, sharing body heat to stay warm. Through it all, Ethan continued to treat Lily not as a machine, but as a partner and equal. One evening, as they prepared for bed, Lily hesitated before speaking. "Ethan," she began cautiously, "do you think I'll always be different? From humans, I mean." Ethan thought about the question for a moment before answering. "Different isn't bad," he said finally. "It's just part of who you are. You bring something unique to the table, things I couldn't do on my own. And honestly, I think humans could learn a lot from you." Lily considered this, her optical sensors dimming and brightening rhythmically, as if she were processing his words. "I just want to belong somewhere," she admitted quietly. "To feel like I have a place." "You do," Ethan said without hesitation. "Right here, with me." For the first time since waking up in the wreckage, Lily felt a sense of peace. She didn't know what the future held, but for now, she had someone who believed in her, and that was enough. As they settled into their makeshift shelter for the night, Ethan draped a blanket over both of them to ward off the cold. Lily lay beside him, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. It was a sound that brought her comfort, a reminder that she wasn't alone. In the darkness, Lily whispered, "Thank you, Ethan, for everything." Ethan smiled faintly, though she couldn't see it. "Anytime, Lily, anytime." And with that, they drifted off to sleep, two unlikely companions, finding solace in each other amidst the desolation of a forgotten world. As the days turned into weeks, Lily's confidence grew. With Ethan's guidance, she became more adept at navigating their harsh environment. She learned how to track the sun's position to tell time, how to read the signs of an approaching storm, and even how to set traps for small animals. Each new skill made her feel a little less like a broken machine and a little more like someone who belonged in this world. But despite these improvements, fragments of her past continued to haunt her. One morning, as they sat by the fire eating a modest breakfast of roasted roots and dried meat, Lily suddenly froze. Her optical sensors flickered rapidly, and her hands clenched into fists. "Ethan," she said, her voice trembling, "I remember something." Ethan set his food aside and leaned closer. "What is it?" he asked gently. Lily hesitated, struggling to put her thoughts into words. "It's voices, angry voices. Someone shouting about betrayal. There was a ship, a big one, luxurious. Humans dressed in fine clothes, laughing, drinking. And then—" she paused, shuddering. "Chaos, explosions, fire everywhere. I was trying to help, but they pushed me away. They called me useless, a failure." Her voice cracked, and Ethan could see the pain in her expression. He reached out and placed a hand on hers, offering silent support. "It's okay," he said. Softly, "You're safe now. Whatever happened, it's over." But Lily shook her head. "No, it's not. I can't stop thinking about it. Why would they do that? What did I do wrong?" "You didn't do anything wrong," Ethan replied firmly. "People panic in dangerous situations. They say things they don't mean. That doesn't make it right, but it also doesn't define you. You're here now, and you're proving every day that you're stronger than they ever gave you credit for." Lily looked at him, her optical sensors glowing faintly. For a moment, she seemed to consider his words. Then she nodded slowly. "Thank you," she whispered. "I just wish I could remember more. Maybe then I'd understand why they left me behind." Ethan sighed, leaning back against a rock. "Memories can be tricky," he said. "Sometimes they bring clarity, but other times they only bring pain. You might never get all the answers, and that's okay. What matters is what you do with the pieces you have." Lily fell silent, staring into the fire. The crackling flames cast flickering shadows across her face, highlighting the delicate contours of her design. Ethan watched her, marveling at how far she'd come. When he first found her, she had been little more than a battered shell. Now, she was beginning to resemble the person she once was, or perhaps someone entirely new. Later that day, while exploring the outskirts of their camp, they stumbled upon a cluster of ruins half buried in sand. The structures were ancient, their walls crumbling and covered in strange symbols etched into the stone. Curious, Lily knelt beside one of the carvings, running her fingers over the grooves. "Do you think these belong to the people who lived here long ago?" she asked. "Probably," Ethan replied, crouching beside her. "This planet's been abandoned for centuries. Whoever built this must have moved on or died out." Lily tilted her head thoughtfully. "Do you ever wonder what happened to them? Whether they left because they wanted to or because they had?" "No choice?" Ethan shrugged. "Hard to say. Life out here isn't easy. Maybe they ran out of resources. Or maybe something scared them off." The ruins sparked a new line of questioning in Lily's mind. As they wandered deeper into the site, she began peppering Ethan with questions about human history, culture, and philosophy. "Why do humans fight so much?" she asked at one point. "If we're all part of the same species, shouldn't we work together instead of tearing each other apart?" Ethan chuckled dryly. "You'd think so, wouldn't you? But humans are complicated. We let fear, greed, and pride get in the way of common sense. Doesn't mean we're all bad, though. Some of us try to do better. And you're one of those people," Lily said. Her tone mattered --fact. Ethan blinked, caught off guard by the compliment. "I'm just doing what anyone else would do," he muttered, avoiding her gaze. "No," Lily insisted. "Not everyone would take in a damaged synthetic and treat them like a person. You show me kindness when no one else would. That makes you special." For a moment, Ethan didn't know how to respond. He wasn't used to being praised, especially not for something he considered basic decency. Finally, he cleared his throat and changed the subject. "Let's keep looking around. Maybe we'll find something useful." They spent the rest of the afternoon scavenging through the ruins, uncovering bits of pottery, rusted tools, and faded murals depicting scenes of daily life. One painting showed a group of people gathered around a table, sharing food and laughter. Another depicted a starry sky filled with ships sailing between planets. Lily studied the images intently, her optical sensors glowing brighter with each discovery. "These people dream big," she said finally. "They wanted to explore, to connect with others. Do you think humanity still has that spirit?" Ethan hesitated before answering. "Some parts of it, sure. But space travel isn't as romantic as it sounds. It's hard, lonely work. Most people just want to survive. And yet you're out here," Lily pointed out. "Why?" The question took Ethan by surprise. He hadn't thought about his reasons in a long time. "I guess I'm looking for something," he admitted after a pause. "A reason to keep going. Out here, it's easy to lose sight of what matters. But meeting you reminded me that there's still good in the universe if you're willing to look for it. Lily smiled faintly, a gesture that somehow managed to convey warmth despite her mechanical features. Maybe we're both searching for the same thing, she said. A place where we belong. Ethan nodded, feeling a lump rise in his throat. He didn't trust himself to speak, so he simply patted her shoulder and stood up. Come on, he said gruffly. We should head back before it gets dark. On the walk home, Lily seemed lost in thought. She didn't ask any more questions, content to walk silently beside Ethan as the sun dipped below the horizon. The landscape glowed orange and gold, casting long shadows across the barren ground. It was a beautiful sight, though neither of them said it aloud. That night, as they lay side by side under the stars, Lily broke the silence. Ethan, she began hesitantly, do you think synthetics will ever truly be accepted by humans? Ethan sighed, staring up at the endless expanse above them. I don't know, he admitted. Humans are slow to change. But I believe it's possible. People like you, ones who show compassion, intelligence, and resilience, prove that synthetics aren't so different from us. Maybe someday they'll see that. Lily was quiet for a moment, digesting his words. Then she whispered, I hope. So, because I want to believe that the future can be better than the past. So do I, Ethan replied softly. And if anyone can help make that happen, it's you. With that, they drifted off to sleep, two unlikely companions bound together by shared struggles and dreams of a brighter tomorrow. Though neither of them knew what lay ahead, they faced it with courage and each other. As time went on, word spread among the scavenger community about Ethan and Lily. News traveled fast in such a small, tight-knit group of survivors, and it wasn't long before people began talking about the man who had taken in a damaged synthetic. Some admired Ethan's kindness, seeing it as a rare act of compassion in a harsh and unforgiving world. Others, however, were less charitable. They sneered at his decision, calling him foolish for wasting resources on something they considered useless. They're not alive, one scavenger named Ryan said during a heated argument around a communal fire. They're machines. You can't trust them, no matter how human they seem. Ethan kept his distance from these debates, choosing instead to focus on his work with Lily. He didn't care what others thought. He knew firsthand how much he had grown, both in skill and spirit. But the tension in the air was impossible to ignore. Whispers followed them wherever they went, and some scavengers even avoided their camp altogether, as if Lily's presence might somehow contaminate them. Lily noticed the change too. Though she tried to stay positive, the hostility weighed on her. One evening, as they prepared dinner, she finally voiced her concerns. Do you think they'll ever accept me? She asked quietly, stirring a pot of stew over the fire. Ethan glanced up from sharpening his knife. Does it matter? He replied, their opinions don't define you. What matters is how you see yourself and how I see you. Lily nodded, though her expression remained troubled. I know, but it's hard not to feel like an outsider when everyone treats you like one. Ethan set the knife aside and moved closer to her. You're not alone, he said firmly. You've got me. And that's enough. Her optical sensors dimmed. Briefly, a gesture that almost looked like gratitude. Thank you, she murmured. I don't know what I'd do without you. Before Ethan could respond, a shout echoed through the camp. Both of them turned toward the sound, startled. A group of raiders had arrived, their vehicles kicking up clouds of dust as they skidded to a halt near the edge of the settlement. The scavengers scrambled to gather their belongings, knowing full well what this meant. Raiders weren't interested in trade or negotiation. They came to take whatever they wanted by force. Tension crackled in the air as the raiders dismounted, their leader stepping forward with a smug grin. Hand over your supplies, and we won't have any trouble, he announced, his voice dripping with arrogance. Ethan clenched his fist, anger bubbling beneath the surface. He hated raiders more than anything. They preyed on the weak and left destruction in their wake, but fighting back wasn't an option. There were too many of them, and the scavengers were outnumbered and outgunned. What about us? Lily asked softly, her tone tinged with fear. What happens if they find out? About me? Ethan hesitated, then placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We'll handle it together, he said. Just stay close. The raiders began moving through the camp, snatching food, tools, and anything else of value. When they reached Ethan and Lily's shelter, their leader stopped, eyeing Lily with suspicion. What's this? He demanded, gesturing toward her. Another scavenger? No, Ethan replied evenly. She's with me, the raider smirked, clearly amused. A synthetic? Really? Guess you're dumber than you look. He stepped closer, circling Lily like a predator sizing up its prey. Bet she's not even functional. Probably just dragging you down. Lily flinched but stood her ground, her optical sensors glowing steadily. Ethan stepped between them, his voice low and dangerous. Leave her alone. She's none of your business. The raider laughed, unperturbed. Relax, buddy. We're just having a little fun. Then, without warning, he lunged at Lily, grabbing her arm roughly. Let's see if she's worth keeping. Around. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as he watched Lily react not with fear, but with calm precision. In one fluid motion, she twisted free of the raider's grip and delivered a sharp blow to his chest, sending him stumbling backward. The other raiders stared in shock, unsure how to respond. You shouldn't have done that, the leader growled. Recovering quickly, he signaled to his men, and they drew their weapons, surrounding Ethan and Lily. Ethan cursed under his breath, realizing they were trapped. But Lily surprised him yet again. Instead of panicking, she spoke up, her voice clear and steady. If you hurt us, you'll regret it, she warned. There are more scavengers here than raiders. Do you really want to start a fight you can't win? The leader hesitated, glancing around at the growing crowd of scavengers who had begun, gathering nearby. Many of them looked angry, clutching makeshift weapons and glaring at the raiders. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. Fine, he spat after a tense pause. Take your trash and get out of our way. With that, he turned and stormed off, his men following close behind Dot. As the raiders disappeared into the distance, the scavengers erupted into cheers. Several of them approached Ethan and Lily, offering congratulations and thanks. That was incredible, one woman said, shaking Lily's hand. You stood up to them when no one else would. Lily smiled faintly, still processing what had just happened. I only did what needed to be done, she replied modestly, but Ethan knew better. What she had done took courage, something most humans struggled to muster in moments of fear. He couldn't help but feel a swell of pride as he watched the scavengers treat her with newfound respect. For the first time, they saw her not as a broken machine, but as someone capable of making a difference. That night, as they sat by the fire, Ethan raised a makeshift cup in a silent toast. To second chances, he said with a grin Dot Lily mirrored. The gesture, her optical sensors glowing warmly. And to proving people wrong. They clinked their cups together, laughing softly as the flames danced in the darkness. The threat of the raiders had passed, but the experience had changed them. Both. Ethan realized that Lily wasn't just surviving anymore, she was thriving, finding strength in herself that she hadn't known existed. And Lily, for the first time, truly felt like she belonged. Dot as they settled down to sleep. Ethan draped a blanket over them to ward off the cold. Lily lay beside him, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. It was a sound that brought her comfort, a reminder that she wasn't alone. In the quiet moments before sleep claimed her, she whispered, "Thank you, Ethan, for believing in me." Ethan smiled faintly, though she couldn't see it. Always, Lily. Always. And with that, they drifted off, two unlikely companions finding solace in each other amidst the chaos of a forgotten W. The days following the raiders' visit brought a subtle shift in the atmosphere of the scavenger camp. Word of Lily's bravery spread quickly, and the scavengers who had once dismissed her as useless now looked at her with a mix of admiration and respect. She became something of a symbol, a reminder that even those written off by society could rise to the occasion when it mattered most. For Lily, this newfound acceptance was both heartening and overwhelming. She had spent so long feeling like an outsider that the sudden attention made her uneasy. One afternoon, as she helped Ethan repair a broken generator, a young scavenger named Mia approached her hesitantly. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" Mia asked, her voice tinged with nervousness. Lily paused her work and turned to face the girl. "Of course," she said warmly. "What is it?" Mia fidgeted with the hem of her shirt before speaking. "I just wanted to say thank you for standing up to those raiders. You didn't have to do that, but you did. And because of you, they left without hurting anyone." Lily tilted her head slightly, surprised by the sincerity in Mia's words. "I only did what anyone else would have done," she replied modestly. "Protecting others is important. But not everyone would have done it," Mia insisted. "Most people would have been too scared. You weren't. That's why I admire you." Lily's optical sensors dimmed briefly, a gesture that almost looked like embarrassment. "Thank you," she murmured. "That means a lot." As Mia walked away, Ethan glanced over at Lily and smirked. "Looks like you've got a fan club," he teased. Lily shook her head, smiling faintly. "It's strange. I never thought people would see me this way, like I'm worth something." "You are," Ethan said firmly. "You always were." It just took them a while to notice. Despite the positive changes, life in the camp remained challenging. Supplies were running low, and tension simmered beneath the surface as scavengers competed for dwindling resources. Ethan and Lily did their best to stay out of conflicts, focusing on their own survival. But even they couldn't avoid the growing sense of unease that hung over the settlement like a storm cloud. One evening, as they sat by their fire sharing a meal, Lily broached a topic that had been weighing on her mind. "Ethan," she began cautiously, "do you think we'll ever leave this place?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, caught off guard by the question. "Leave? Where would we go?" "I don't know," Lily admitted. "Somewhere new." "Somewhere where?" "We don't have to fight just to survive." Ethan sighed, staring into the flames. "It's not that simple. Space travel isn't cheap, and even if we could afford it, there's no guarantee things will be better elsewhere. Sometimes it feels like the whole galaxy is falling apart." Lily nodded slowly, understanding his point. "But staying here isn't easy either," she countered. "We're stuck in the same routine, always struggling." "Don't you ever wonder what else is out there?" Ethan hesitated, unsure how to respond. He hadn't allowed himself to dream about the future in a long time. It was easier to focus on the present, on surviving one day at a time. But Lily's words stirred something deep within him, a flicker of hope he thought he buried long ago. "Maybe you're right," he said finally. "Maybe it's time we started thinking bigger." Over the next few days, Ethan and Lily began making plans. They scoured the camp for useful items they could trade or sell, pooling their resources to save up for passage off the planet. It wasn't easy. Every spare moment was spent working, bartering, and negotiating, but they refused to give up. Along the way, they discovered hidden strengths in each other. Ethan marveled at Lily's ability to charm even the toughest traders, while Lily admired Ethan's resourcefulness and determination. Their efforts didn't go unnoticed. One evening, as they returned to their shelter after a particularly successful trade, they found several scavengers waiting for them. Among them was Mia, who stepped forward with a hopeful smile. "We heard you're planning to leave," she said. "Is it true?" Ethan exchanged a glance with Lily before nodding. "Yeah, it's true. We can't stay here forever." The scavengers exchanged nervous looks, clearly torn. Finally, one of them spoke up. "We want to come with you." Lily blinked in surprise. "Come with us?" "Yes," another scavenger chimed in. "We're tired of living like this, always fighting, always afraid. If you're willing to take the risk, we are too." Ethan frowned, considering the implications. Taking on a group of people would make their journey infinitely more complicated. But at the same time, he couldn't deny the appeal of leaving behind the harshness of the camp and giving others a chance at a better life. "What do you think?" he asked Lily quietly. She thought for a moment before answering. "If we're going to dream big, why not share it with others? Together, we might stand a better chance." Ethan nodded, turning back to the group. "All right," he said, "but this won't be easy. We'll need everyone to pull their weight." The scavengers erupted into cheers, relief and excitement washing over them. Over the next week, they worked tirelessly to prepare for the journey, pooling their skills and resources to build a makeshift spacecraft from salvaged parts. Lily proved invaluable during this process, using her knowledge of engineering to troubleshoot problems and optimize systems. Ethan watched her with pride, amazed by how far she had come since the day he found her broken and abandoned. Finally, the day of departure arrived. The group gathered around the spacecraft, their faces filled with equal parts fear and hope. As Ethan and Lily climbed aboard, they exchanged a meaningful look. "Ready for this?" Ethan asked softly. Lily smiled, her optical sensors glowing brightly. "More than ever." With that, they launched into the sky, leaving the desolate planet behind. Below them, the landscape grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely, replaced by the vast expanse of space. For the first time in years, Ethan felt a sense of freedom, a belief that maybe, just maybe, the future could be brighter than the past. As the spacecraft drifted through the stars, Lily leaned back in her seat, gazing out at the endless horizon. "Do you think we'll find what we're looking for?" she asked quietly. Ethan followed her gaze, his expression thoughtful. "I don't know, but as long as we're together, I think we'll be okay." Lily nodded, her smile soft and genuine. "Together," she echoed, and with that, they set their sights on the unknown, two unlikely companions leading a ragtag group of survivors toward a new beginning. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they faced them with courage and each other. The journey through space was anything but smooth. The makeshift spacecraft groaned and shuddered with every passing hour, its patched-together systems straining under the weight of their ambitious voyage. Despite the constant hum of machinery and the occasional alarming beep from the control panel, Ethan and Lily worked tirelessly to keep everything running. They had divided the responsibilities between them. Ethan handled navigation and repairs, while Lily monitored the ship's systems and kept an eye on the other scavengers, ensuring everyone stayed calm and focused. For most of the passengers, this was their first time in space. Some were awestruck by the endless expanse of stars outside the windows, while others clung to their seats, overwhelmed by the vastness and uncertainty of it all. Lily spent much of her time moving between the group, offering reassurance and answering questions. Her calm demeanor and steady presence helped ease their fears, earning her even more trust and admiration. One evening, as the ship drifted silently through the void, Ethan joined Lily near the observation window. She stood gazing out at the stars, her optical sensors glowing softly in the dim light. "You've been amazing with them," he said, nodding toward. The group gathered in the main cabin. Lily turned to face him, her expression thoughtful. "They're scared, Ethan. Scared of the unknown, scared of failure. I understand that feeling better than anyone." Ethan nodded, leaning against the wall beside her. "You've come a long way since we left that planet. Do you ever think about how different your life might have been if I hadn't found you?" Lily hesitated, glancing back at the stars. "Sometimes," she admitted, "but then I realized that my past doesn't define me. What matters is what I do now, how I choose to live." Her words struck a chord with Ethan, who had spent years running from his own past. He had never allowed himself to imagine a future beyond survival, but Lily's optimism had begun to rub off on him. For the first time in a long time, he dared to hope that they might actually find something worth fighting for. As the days passed, the group grew closer, bonding over shared meals and late-night conversations. They shared stories of their lives, Before the camp, a loved one's lost and dreams abandoned. Lily listened intently, asking questions and offering insights that often surprised the others. Though she wasn't human, her empathy and understanding made her one of the most relatable people on board. One night, during one of these gatherings, Mia posed a question that sparked a lively debate. "Do you think there's still good out there?" she asked, gesturing toward the stars. "Or has humanity ruined everything?" The room fell silent as everyone considered the question. Finally, Ethan spoke up. "I used to think the worst of people," he admitted. "But meeting Lily changed that. She reminded me that kindness exists even in the darkest places. If we can hold on to that, maybe there's hope for the rest of us." Lily smiled faintly, touched by his words. "Humans aren't perfect," she added, "but neither are synthetics. We all make mistakes. What matters is learning from them and trying to be better." The conversation continued late into the night, with everyone sharing their thoughts and hopes for the future. By the time they finally dispersed, a sense of camaraderie had settled over the group. For the first time in years, they felt like they were part of something bigger than themselves, but not everything went smoothly. The spacecraft's aging systems began to fail one by one, forcing Ethan and Lily to work around the clock to keep it operational. One day, as they were inspecting the engine compartment, Lily noticed something alarming. "Ethan," she said urgently, pointing to a cluster of wires sparking dangerously. "This section is overheating. If we don't fix it soon, it could cause a meltdown." Ethan cursed under his breath, grabbing a toolkit. "We'll have to reroute the power manually. Can you handle the controls while I work on the wiring?" "Of course," Lily replied without hesitation. For the next several hours, they worked in tandem, their movements precise and coordinated. Sweat dripped down Ethan's face as he wrestled with stubborn components, while Lily monitored the ship's status, calling out updates and warnings. Finally, with a triumphant click, Ethan secured the last connection. The spark subsided, and the engine roared back to life. "That should hold for now," Ethan said, wiping his hands on a rag. "But we'll need to find a place to stop soon. These repairs are only temporary." Lily nodded, her optical sensors dimming briefly in exhaustion. "We'll figure it out," she said firmly. Together. Their teamwork didn't go unnoticed. The other scavengers began referring to them as the heart and soul of the mission, crediting their leadership and determination for keeping the group united. Even those who had initially doubted Lily's value now looked to her for guidance, trusting her judgment and expertise. As they approached a nearby moon, scouting for a safe landing site, Lily brought up a topic that had been weighing on her mind. "Ethan," she began cautiously, "do you ever wonder what makes someone real?" Ethan frowned, setting aside the console he had been adjusting. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Lily hesitated, searching for the right words. Am I real? Or am I just pretending to feel, to care, to belong?" Ethan stared at her, stunned by the depth of her question. After a moment, he placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're as real as anyone else on this ship, Lily. Maybe more so. You show more courage and compassion than most humans I've met. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Synthetic tears welled up in her optical sensors, though she quickly blinked them away. "Thank you," she whispered. "That means everything." By the time they landed on the moon, the group was exhausted but hopeful. The surface was barren and cold, but it offered a chance to restock supplies and make critical repairs. As they disembarked, Lily took a moment to gaze up at the sky, marveling at the distant glow of stars. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan asked, joining her. "The future," she replied softly. "And how strange it is that someone like me gets to dream about it." Ethan smiled, his expression warm despite the chill in the air. "Dream big, Lily. That's what keeps us going." With renewed determination, the group set to work, gathering materials and repairing the ship. Though challenges lay ahead, they faced them together, united by a shared belief in the possibility of a better tomorrow. And as they prepared to launch once more into the unknown, Ethan and Lily stood side by side, ready to embrace whatever came next. The repairs on the moon took longer than expected, but the group worked tirelessly, driven by the hope of finding a new home. Ethan and Lily led the effort, their partnership growing stronger with each passing day. They spent hours side by side, fixing the ship's systems, scavenging for parts, and planning their next move. The others looked to them as leaders, trusting their judgment and drawing strength from their unwavering determination. One evening, as they sat together under the pale light of the moon's surface, Lily turned to Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder what will happen when we find a place to settle?" she asked softly. Ethan paused, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the stars twinkled faintly. "I try not to think about it too much," he admitted. "But I hope we can build something better. A place where everyone feels safe, where no one gets left behind." Lily nodded slowly, her optical sensors glowing faintly. "That sounds nice, but what about us? What happens to you and me?" Ethan hesitated, caught off guard by the question. He had grown so accustomed to having Lily by his side that he hadn't considered what might come after their journey ended. "I don't know," he said finally. "But I do know one thing. I'm not ready to say goodbye." Lily tilted her head slightly, a gesture that almost looked like a smile. "Good, because neither am I." Their conversation lingered in the air as they returned to work, feeling their resolve to see the mission through. After several days of hard labor, the spacecraft was finally ready to launch again. The group gathered around it, their faces filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. As they climbed aboard, Ethan and Lily exchanged a meaningful glance. "Ready?" Ethan asked quietly. "Always," Lily replied, her voice steady. With a roar of engines, the spacecraft lifted off, leaving the barren moon behind. They set their course for a distant planet rumored to be habitable, a place where they could start anew. The journey would take weeks, but the group remained hopeful, buoyed by the belief that they were closer than ever to finding their future. As the days passed, Ethan and Lily found themselves spending more time together, often staying up late into the night talking about everything and nothing. One evening, as they sat in the dimly lit cockpit, Lily brought up a topic she had been thinking about for a while. "Ethan," she began cautiously, "do you think humans and synthetics can truly coexist? Or will there always be distrust between us?" Ethan thought about the question for a moment before answering. "It won't be easy," he said honestly. "There are people out there who will never accept you or any synthetic as an equal, but change takes time. And if we can show them that trust and understanding are possible, maybe others will follow." Lily nodded, her optical sensors dimming briefly. "I just want to believe that the future can be better than the past." "It can be," Ethan replied firmly, "but only if we make it that way." Their conversation drifted into silence, the hum of the ship's engines filling the space between them. For the first time in a long time, Ethan allowed himself to imagine a life beyond survival, a life where he and Lily could build something lasting together. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing for certain: wherever Lily was, that was where he wanted to be. Finally, after weeks of travel, the planet came into view. It was a lush, vibrant world, its surface covered in sprawling forests and shimmering lakes. The sight took everyone's breath away, a stark contrast to the desolate places they had left behind. As they descended toward the surface, the group erupted into cheers, their voices filled with relief and joy. Once they landed, they wasted no time setting up camp. The air was fresh and clean, the soil fertile and rich. For the first time in years, they felt like they had a real chance at starting over. Ethan and Lily worked alongside the others, building shelters, planting crops, and exploring the surrounding area. Each day brought new discoveries and challenges, but they faced them together, united by their shared purpose. One night, as they sat by the fire watching the stars twinkle above, Lily turned to Ethan with a soft smile. "This is what I dreamed of," she said. "A place where we belong?" Ethan nodded, his gaze warm. Me too. For a moment, they simply sat in silence, enjoying the peacefulness of their new home. Then Lily hesitated, as if gathering the courage to speak. "Ethan," she began softly, "there's something I need to tell you." "What is it?" he asked, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "I've been thinking about us," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "About how much you've done for me. How much you mean to me. I don't know what I'd do without you." Ethan reached out, placing a hand on hers. "You'll never have to find out," he said gently. "You're not alone anymore, Lily. Not now. Not ever." Her optical sensors brightened, synthetic tears welling up in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Later that night, as they settled into their shelter, Ethan draped a blanket over them to ward off the chill. Lily lay beside him, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. It was a sound that brought her comfort, a reminder that she wasn't alone. In the quiet moments before sleep claimed her, she whispered, "I love you, Ethan." Ethan smiled, faintly though she couldn't see it. "I love you too, Lily." And with that, they drifted off to sleep, two unlikely companions finding solace in each other amidst the beauty of their new world. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they faced them with courage and each other. Together, they had built a life worth living, proving that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, hope could still shine brightly.